Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Tech with Machines. Today's topic is strings, a very common concept you would have heard in all programming languages. So let's talk about what we are going to cover in strings. So today we will go through the basic definition of strings, basic operations, the methods which are there in the string formatting, and the very important concept string interning. And finally, if you like this video, please do like and subscribe. So let's start with the introduction. String is a sequence of characters, as we discussed in previous videos as well, that string is a sequence type. It's a sequence of characters that are enclosed either within single, double or triple quotes. Python is one of the languages where you can actually enclose string with single as well as triple quotes as well. Now in few minutes we'll see how we can do that, but that's what is a general definition of string. Basic operations which are basically used for string manipulation are concatenation, basically combining one or two strings, length, how do you define the length of a particular sequence type. We have used this in lists as well, and as well as in sets, as well as we use this with tuples. Indexing and slicing, again another common operation being shared among different sequence types. All of them support indexing and slicing. And then the repetition. We discussed this yesterday as well with tuples, where we could repeat tuple with a asterisk, which is star sign. Then we'll also talk about string methods, the different methods that string supports: upper, lower, strip, split, join, and we'll go into details with hands-on. We're doing a hands-on on this. String formatting is another way to format a string, and then a very important concept called string interning, which basically helps to reduce the memory footprint of string objects, as well as it also helps to improve the performance or optimize the performance. So let's go through it and see how we can code it. As usual, I'm back with a new Python file in an existing Python Kickstarter project. This is becoming a pet project, looks like. So we have very few topics today to cover, and this is gonna be, I think, a very short video. So we are gonna start with creating a string, basic operations, indexing and slicing, string methods, whatever we just saw as a basic definition a few minutes back, right? So let's start first with how do you create a string. So first thing first, that you actually define a variable. So name a variable. Let's say we are calling it that it's somebody's name, so we might name the variable itself as name and then do the assignment. Let's use single quotes now here to define the string. So we'll use single, double and triple quotes and see how Python actually behaves in all these cases. So I'm going to just use John as a name. Then let me use address of John as another string variable, and I will just say, let's say Bangalore. And then let's use book title, as I'm just throwing some random variable. So let's use book title here as another string variable, and let me call it welcome basics of Python. So I'm going to use the book title in triple quotes, and I will also change address in double quotes. So here, as you can see, we could define string enclosed within either single, double or triple quotes, and it could be done easily, so it is able to identify them as string also. So let's do that. We'll use a type inbuilt method as we used in our previous videos as well. So we're gonna do print type of name, print type of address, and also print type of book title. And let's run this. So we have previous file here today. So we are going to rename it to the new file strings.py. So all of them are string, all of them are objects of string class, right? Now we will talk about the basic operations. We'll start with the basic operations in string. So let's do first the first basic operation as concatenation, which means combine two or more strings. So we did the same thing with tuples as well, and we used a very basic operator which is used across all types is plus, right? So let's try to basically club or combine two strings. So what we'll do is we'll combine name and address together and create a new string. Let's say we are saying message, and we are saying message is name plus, we're going to just do a separator, so let's go a comma in between and plus we are giving address. So what it should end up printing should be, it should say John's comma Bangalore, right? So let's try this, and you can see it printed John comma Bangalore. So concatenation is just combining two or more strings, and we can do plus for that. Another operation which string supports is length, which is again another very common operation used across sequence types. So if I have to print the length of the string, let's take length of name, and I will just again try it. So name is 4 characters, so it should ideally print just 4 in the output. That's what it is doing. Then let's move back to another one, which is indexing and slicing. So in indexing and slicing, as you remember, that string has the ordered sequence of characters. So basically in this case the first element will be at the 0th index. So if I want to just read the index at the element at the index 0, I'll just do print name 0, and it should give me j in the first index position, right? And slicing, as you know, that there is a start, stop and step. So let's do slicing of this name, basically get the substring. So let's take the substring from address. So we'll take first index and we will take till 4. And if you recall, in slicing, step is always exclusive, so it's gonna basically print from address. Let's take address instead. So from address it's gonna print from first index, which will be a, second, third, so which means a and g is gonna get printed, whereas the fourth position is exclusive. Only start is inclusive in slicing. So let's try to do this and print it. So as you can see, name of 0 printed j, whereas the address 1 is to 4 printed a and g as a substring. So that is what is slicing. Now last but not the least, doing a repetition in a string. So let's try repetition. If you recall, yesterday also we tried to do repetition with tuples. So let's do the same with basically strings as well. So let's create a variable called word. We'll create a new variable, so let's call it Python. Let's try to print Python thrice basically. So if we do this and just do 3 along with it and now print the word, we will see that this is going to print basically Python thrice. Let's give it a space as well so it's more readable. So let's try to do this, and as you can see, Python. So thrice a string got created, so it's repetition of the Python. Now these were all the basic operations you can do with strings. Now there are some methods which string also supports, and these are very common across all languages, and when in Java you will find these methods which string supports, right? So upper, lower, let's try to basically print the lowercase of name itself, and also let's try to do the uppercase for name. So we'll do name.upper, and this is going to print string in both lower and uppercase. So as you can see on the bottom, John and John got printed in lower and uppercase, right? Now there is another thing called strip. Strip is basically when you have, let's clear the console here. So strip is basically when you have certain space in the trailing spaces, or in the beginning of the string you have some spaces, right? So it's gonna strip them off. So let's say you had some message, and let's call it good morning, and you have a space in the beginning and you also leave a space at the end, right? So now what will happen is when I do message or strip here, basically it's gonna print just good morning without any trailing and beginning spaces. As you can see here, it actually printed good morning, but if I have not have done strip, then it could have printed the same with spaces. So let's try to run it again, and as you can see, it actually printed with space good morning, right? So this is what strip does. So let's move back this to strip just for you to go through it. Okay, now we'll go through the next one, which is split. Now split is somewhere similar to how you want to create a substring using slicing. Then with split also you can actually create substring. Let's say you have a message. Let's take the same message, good morning, but in this case let's have a separator. So let's say I have a pipe separator, double pipe separator, and I'm actually trying to separate good morning with pipe separator, and I want to now split it. So if I want to split it, I will just do it. It is gonna give, when I split it, it's gonna give me an array of strings, right? It's gonna give me a list. So what will happen now is, if I'll do print message dot split and I want it to split by comma, it's gonna give me good and sorry, not comma, double pipe. So it's gonna give me good and morning as two variables in the list. So let's try that. So that's what you can see, good and morning came in the list, right? So this is what split does. Now there is a join also. If now let's say I have an array and I want to join them. So let's take the same, the opposite of the previous language, previous example. So if I do good and then I have a morning as well, and I want to join them now with double pipe, what I could do is that, okay, double pipe dot join, and then I join the message to that. Now it's gonna join them by double pipe and give me a string back. So now if, as you can see, I got a string back. So split did completely opposite. Split actually split it into two strings, because my string has two elements itself, so two words itself. So it split it into two elements and created a list out of it by providing a separator. And the same way, by providing a separator, I could join two elements of a list, right? So that is string and split, split and join. Now we'll talk about string formatting before we go further on the last topic of the video. Now this is where we close string methods. Now string formatting is a very handy technique, and you will find yourself using it across all Python programs which you will write, right? So in string formatting, it is actually there are different ways to format a string in Python. There is an operator, there is a method, and then there is something called formatted string literals, right? Generally you will find that f strings, formatted string literals, are the most common used method, but there are very basic and beginning methods which were a modifier operator or a format method. So let's try first with a modifier operator, how modifier operator works. If you are acquainted with C++, you will find it pretty familiar, this modifier operator, which is used in those languages as well, even in Go for that matter. So let's say that I have a name, and I have a name, let's say I'll use Alice, right? And his or her age is 30, and I just want to basically format that string and say that, okay, my name is Alice and I am 30 years old, right? So let's try to now format it as a message. So if I want to now provide these as variables to the string and format that string with these variables, I will say my name is modifier S and I am modifier D. D is specifically for the integer years old, right? So now I can then format them, and I will say name and age are the variables by which I want to format them, right? Now if I print print message, I will actually get what I just wrote. So now you can see that modifier S got replaced by Alice and modifier D got replaced by age as 30, right? Now the same thing if I had to do with the format method, how would it would have looked like? Now if I would have to do the same thing with format method, then slight change would have been that I would have given my name is, left it as it is here with the curly brace, and I am curly brace years old, right? And then I do format and then pass name and age to it. It is going to replace them by the particular values of those variables. Now if I try to again run it, I'll see the same message getting printed, and as you can see, it replaced those curly braces with name and age. Same thing, the shortest form and the most used form after 3.6 is I've used the formatted string literal. Now in this case, again the same thing. Let's use message, and I'm gonna say F and then write whatever I need to write. Now in this case, I'm gonna give the variable directly into the curly brace. This identifies that it's a variable and I have to replace it with the actual value, and then I am this age years old, right? It's pretty simple here, and how beautifully we could write it without passing or these variables as explicitly like we did in modifier operator and in format method. And finally, this is what it got printed. It printed actually my name is Alice and I'm 30 years old with the formatted string literals as well. So overall, if you see that strings are very easy to deal with in Python, and they are the fundamental data types in Python, and they are extensively used with whatever application you will create, like a file handling, text processing, or web development, or much more, right? So understanding how to work with them is crucial for any Python programmer, correct? Now comes a very important topic of the day. We have often heard about how the two objects or the two variables could be same or equal, right? So in Python, how does Python actually handle strings? There is a concept called string interning. Okay, it doesn't really happen for all strings, but what it is actually, first let's talk about that. So string interning is actually a technique. It's a technique which is used by Python to optimize memory usage and improve performance by storing only one copy of each unique string in memory, value in memory. Basically, if you would have created a string literal with a particular value, let's say I would have created name Alice, right? And if I create another, let's say name 2, and I define it as name 2 and give it Alice again as a value, when I ask Python, are they equal? It's gonna say yes. Are they equal in terms of, are they pointing to the same memory reference or same object reference? Python is going to say yes, because those two literals are actually getting optimized by string interning. So what Python is actually doing is automatically it will intern string literals with at compile time, or during the interpretation of the Python code. It actually ensures that there's only one copy of that literal which gets created if you create another variable with same value. Now, how do we ensure that that happens? Let's try to take one example. Let's say I'm creating string 1 and I gave it a name hello. Now I create string 2 equal to hello. If I use the basic equal operator, of course that's gonna give me true, because they have the same value, right? But whether they are pointing to the same memory reference or not, that's very important. So this says true, but to do that there is an operator called is in Python. So I'm gonna say if Python believes that string 1 is string 2. Now if I print it, you will see that yes, it does believe that it is, both are actually pointing to the same memory location, right? There are certain cases where this might not work and Python doesn't do by default string interning. That is generally when you are creating dynamically creating a string, and if it's a very long string. If it's a very short string and you're concatenating and then trying its operator, Python by default will actually consider them as pointing to same memory location, or will create only one copy of that particular Python. But in certain implementations, or in certain C Python implementations or Python versions, you will find it varying, that if the length of the string is very long, then you might find that this is operator is giving false in those cases. So it purely depends on the Python implementations or C Python's version. So yeah, this is all about strings for today. I hope you liked the video, and as usual, if you have liked it, please feel free to subscribe, and happy learning. Thank you.